The deaf toddler's terrified eyes locked onto mine as men in dark suits scanned the playground. I was just 7 years old, but I knew his frantic hand gestures weren't random. They were desperate pleas for help. But no one imagined what would come next. We'd love to know. Where are you watching from today? Drop it in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more captivating stories like this. Lily Jackson hugged her worn teddy bear closer as she watched the other kids play with their shiny new toys. The local playground wasn't much, just a few rusty swings and a slide, but it was the only place in Burlington, Vermont, where 7-year-old Lily could pretend her life was normal. "Can I join?" she asked a group of girls playing with glittery jump ropes. The tallest girl looked at Lily's faded dress and scuffed shoes. "Sorry, we already have teams." They giggled and turned away. Lily was used to this. Her mother worked 3 jobs, and they lived in a tiny apartment behind Mr. Wilson's convenience store. The other kids called it the shoebox. She was about to head home when she heard it, a piercing wail coming from behind the slide. Curious, she followed the sound and found a little boy, no more than 2 years old, sobbing uncontrollably. "Hey, it's okay," Lily said, kneeling beside him. The boy continued crying, his tiny hands moving in strange patterns. "Are you lost? Where's your mommy?" The toddler didn't respond to her voice. His eyes, bright blue and rimmed with tears, stared at her with desperation. He wore expensive-looking clothes, a tiny button-up shirt and khaki pants that probably cost more than all of Lily's outfits combined. "I'll help you," she promised, reaching for his hand. That's when she noticed something unusual, a small hearing aid behind his ear. "You can't hear me, can you?" she whispered, more to herself than to him. The realization hit her. This little boy was deaf. Lily had learned some basic sign language in school during a special week about disabilities. She wasn't great at it, but maybe she could try. Slowly, she signed hello, making sure the boy could see her hands clearly. The toddler's crying softened, his eyes widening with recognition. His little hands moved quickly, making signs Lily couldn't understand, but the desperation was clear. As she was trying to communicate, she felt a strange sensation, like they were being watched. Glancing around, she spotted a black SUV parked across the street. 2 men in dark suits stood beside it, scanning the playground methodically. The little boy followed her gaze and immediately started trembling. His tiny hand clutched Lily's sleeve, and he made frantic motions, pointing at the men, then making a cutting motion across his neck, then tugging her in the opposite direction. "They're bad?" Lily asked, trying to understand. "Are they looking for you?" The boy nodded vigorously, tears streaming down his cheeks. Lily's heart raced. She didn't understand what was happening, but she knew one thing: this little boy was terrified, and somehow helping him had become her responsibility. "Come with me," she whispered, helping him to his feet. "I know a secret way out." Behind the playground was a small gap in the fence, hidden by overgrown bushes. Lily had discovered it months ago when running from bullies. As the men in black suits approached the playground, she pulled the toddler through the opening, his expensive clothes getting dirty in the process. "We need to hurry," she said, forgetting momentarily that he couldn't hear her. But the urgency in her movements was clear enough. As they disappeared through the bushes, Lily heard one of the men speaking into a phone. "Target possibly sighted at Westlake Park. Send backup immediately." "Target? Who calls a little kid a target?" Lily didn't understand the danger, but she knew they needed to hide, and fast. "What's your name?" Lily asked, forgetting again that the boy couldn't hear her. They were hiding in an abandoned treehouse a few blocks from the playground, one that the neighborhood kids had forgotten about years ago. The toddler was still trembling, his blue eyes darting nervously toward the entrance. Lily reached into her backpack and pulled out a small notebook and a pencil stub, her most prized possessions. She wrote, "Name," in big letters, and showed it to him. The boy stared at the page, confusion clouding his features. Of course, he was too young to read. Lily tapped her chest and said slowly, "Lily." Then she pointed at him, raising her eyebrows in question. After a moment of hesitation, the boy tapped his own chest and made a series of hand movements. Lily couldn't understand his sign, but she needed to call him something. "I'll call you Blue," she decided, pointing to his striking blue eyes, "just until I find out your real name." Blue seemed content with this, offering a small smile through his tears. As the afternoon sun filtered through the treehouse windows, Lily tried to piece together what little she knew. Blue was deaf, probably around 2 years old, wore expensive clothes, and was being chased by men in suits. None of it made sense to her 7-year-old mind. "Are you hungry?" she asked, then immediately shook her head at her own forgetfulness. Instead, she mimed eating and pointed to her small lunch bag. Blue nodded eagerly. Lily shared her peanut butter sandwich, watching as he devoured his half in seconds. When was the last time he'd eaten? As Blue finished eating, Lily noticed something she'd missed before, a small silver bracelet on his wrist. It was partially hidden under his sleeve, but when he moved, she caught a glimpse of engraving. Gently, she lifted his arm to see better. "E. Miller," she read aloud. "Is that your name?" "Miller?" Blue didn't respond, but his eyes followed her gaze to the bracelet. Suddenly he tugged it off and pushed it into Lily's hand, then made a hiding motion. "You want me to hide this?" Lily asked, confused. When Blue nodded vigorously, she slipped it into her sock. "Okay, it's safe now." Odotus, from their treehouse perch, Lily could see parts of the neighborhood. Black SUVs were now patrolling the streets, moving slowly as the suited men inside scanned the area. "Who are they?" she whispered. "Why are they looking for you?" Blue's face crumpled again, his tiny hands moving frantically in signs she couldn't understand. Frustration and fear radiated from him in waves. Lily reached out and took his small hand in hers. "It's okay. I'll keep you safe." As the words left her mouth, she wondered how she would keep such a promise. She was just a little girl with no phone, no money, and no real plan. Her mom wouldn't be home from work for hours. The sound of heavy footsteps below made them both freeze. A man's voice crackled through a radio. "Northwest sector clear, moving to check abandoned structures." Lily's heart pounded. How long before they discovered the treehouse? She looked at Blue, who was watching her face with complete trust. In that moment, Lily made a decision. "They couldn't stay here. We need to go to my house," she whispered, gathering her few belongings. "It's not much, but it's safe." As she helped Blue down the treehouse ladder, she noticed a helicopter circling in the distance. Whoever these people were, they weren't giving up. Lily thought of her mother's warnings about strangers and danger. But Blue wasn't a stranger anymore. He was her responsibility, and somewhere, she knew, his family must be worried sick. "We'll find your mom and dad," she promised silently. "But first, we need to hide." Taking Blue's hand, they slipped into the gathering shadows of early evening, 2 children alone against a danger neither could fully comprehend. The men in black suits were everywhere. Lily had never seen Burlington so full of strangers. They stood on corners, drove slowly down streets, and spoke into earpieces. Each time she spotted one, she pulled Blue deeper into the shadows. "Almost there," Lily whispered, forgetting again that her words meant nothing to the toddler. They'd been zigzagging through alleys and backyards for nearly an hour, taking the long way to avoid being seen. Blue was exhausted. His little legs had given out twice already, forcing Lily to carry him despite her own fatigue. At 2 years old, he was heavier than he looked. They paused behind Mrs. Greenwood's garden shed, just a block from Lily's apartment. Blue's eyelids were drooping, but he fought to stay awake, his tiny body still vibrating with fear. "Just a little further," Lily encouraged, squeezing his hand. As they prepared to cross the final street, a black SUV turned the corner, its headlights sweeping across the pavement. Lily yanked Blue back into the shadows, her heart hammering. The vehicle stopped directly in front of them. Two men stepped out, their faces serious beneath dark sunglasses despite the fading light. "Grid 7 clear," one said into his wrist. "Moving to grid 8. Lily held her breath, pulling Blue against her. His small body trembled, and she could feel his rapid heartbeat. The men surveyed the area, flashlights probing the darkness. One beam came within inches of their hiding spot. "Sir," one agent said, "we've been at this for hours. The kid could be anywhere by now." "Keep looking," came the sharp reply. "Mr. Miller is paying us to find his son, not to make excuses." Miller. The name on Blue's bracelet. Lily's mind raced. These men were looking for Blue on his father's orders. But why was Blue so afraid? The SUV eventually pulled away, but Lily waited several extra minutes before moving. Blue had fallen asleep against her shoulder, emotional exhaustion finally winning out. Carefully, she carried him across the street and down the narrow alley that led to her apartment. The back entrance was always unlocked, a fact her mother complained about regularly. Their apartment was small and sparse, but meticulously clean. Emma Jackson worked as a cleaner at the local hospital, a cashier at Wilson's convenience store, and did weekend shifts at a laundromat. She left before dawn and often returned after Lily was asleep. Lily laid Blue gently on the threadbare couch. In sleep, he looked even smaller, his long eyelashes casting shadows on his cheeks. Who was this little boy, and why did men in expensive suits want him so badly? She found a note from her mom on the counter. "Working late, dinner in fridge, love you Bean." Next to it was $5, emergency money. Lily had never been so grateful for her mother's caution. After eating a cold sandwich and giving Blue some milk in a plastic cup, Lily turned on the small television, keeping the volume low. She flipped channels until she saw something that made her gasp. A well-dressed couple stood before a bank of microphones. The woman was crying, mascara tracking down her perfectly made-up face. The man, tall with salt and pepper hair, spoke with controlled desperation. "Reward of $500,000 for any information leading to the safe return of our son, Ethan Miller." A photo filled the screen. A smiling toddler with bright blue eyes. Blue. Ethan. The missing son of what appeared to be very rich, very worried parents. But if these were his parents, why was Ethan so afraid of the men looking for him? Nothing made sense. The reporter's voice continued. 2-year-old Ethan Miller, who is deaf, disappeared from the family's vacation home in Burlington this morning. The Millers fear he may have been abducted by rivals of Miller Pharmaceuticals. Lily turned off the TV, her mind spinning. She wasn't harboring a random lost child. She was hiding the son of a millionaire who thought he'd been kidnapped. And worse, she now realized she might be considered the kidnapper. Morning light filtered through the thin curtains as Lily woke with a start. Ethan was still asleep on the couch, curled up under her favorite blanket. For a moment she watched his peaceful breathing, wondering what to do. The TV report had called him Ethan Miller, son of James and Sarah Miller, owners of Miller Pharmaceuticals. They believed he had been kidnapped. But Lily had seen the fear in Ethan's eyes when he spotted those men in suits. Something wasn't right. Lily's 7-year-old mind struggled with the complexity of the situation. She should tell someone. Get help. But who? The police. What if they didn't believe her? What if they thought she had taken Ethan? Her mother would know what to do, but she wouldn't be home until afternoon. Emma worked Saturday mornings at the laundromat across town. A soft thump drew her attention. Ethan was awake, sitting up and rubbing his eyes. When he saw Lily, his face brightened with recognition, then quickly clouded with remembered fear. "Good morning," Lily said, then shook her head at herself. Instead, she smiled and waved. Ethan's stomach growled audibly, and he pointed to his mouth. "Hungry? Me too." Lily checked the fridge. Half a carton of milk, some cheese slices, and an apple. Not much, but it would have to do. As they ate their meager breakfast, Lily tried to think. The silver bracelet was still hidden in her sock from yesterday. She took it out and studied it. E. Miller was engraved on one side. On the other was something she hadn't noticed before, a phone number preceded by the words, "If found, call." Here was her answer. She could call the number and speak directly to Ethan's parents. But the apartment had no phone. Her mother couldn't afford one. The nearest payphone was at Wilson's store, 2 blocks away. "We have to go out again," Lily told Ethan with gestures. She pointed to the door, then to herself and him. Ethan's eyes widened with fear. He shook his head vigorously and hid under the blanket. "It's okay," Lily said, gently pulling the blanket back. "I'll protect you." She mimed a shield with her arms. After some coaxing, Ethan reluctantly agreed. Lily found one of her old hats and placed it on his head as a disguise. It was pink with a butterfly, but it would have to do. They slipped out the back way, Lily constantly scanning for black SUVs. The morning was quiet, but she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Wilson's store was just opening when they arrived. Old Mr. Wilson was sweeping the entrance, his white eyebrows furrowing when he saw Lily. "Bit early for candy, isn't it, Miss Jackson?" he said gruffly, though his eyes were kind. "No candy today, Mr. Wilson. Can I use your phone?" "It's an emergency." Mr. Wilson studied her, then the small boy partially hidden behind her legs. "That the Miller kid everyone's looking for?" he asked quietly. Lily's heart stopped. I found him yesterday. He was lost. I'm trying to call his parents." Mr. Wilson's gaze softened. "Half the town's crawling with private security and police. Why didn't you take him to them?" "He's scared of them," Lily said simply. "I promised to keep him safe." The old man sighed. "Phone's in the back. Don't make me regret this, Lily Jackson." Trembling, Lily dialed the number from the bracelet. After 2 rings, a tense male voice answered. "Miller residence." I have Ethan," Lily stammered. "He's safe. He was lost at the playground yesterday." A sharp intake of breath. "Who is this? Where is my son?" "My name is Lily. I'm 7. Ethan was crying at the park, and these men in black suits were looking for him, but he was scared of them, so I helped him hide and—" "Where are you now?" The voice cut through her rambling. "At Wilson's store on Maple Street. Stay there. Don't move. I'm coming personally." The relief in the man's voice was palpable. "And Lily?" "Thank you." As she hung up, Lily felt a wave of uncertainty. Had she done the right thing? James Miller gripped the steering wheel of his Bentley so tightly his knuckles turned white. 24 hours. His son had been missing for 24 agonizing hours, and now this mysterious call from a child claiming to have found him. It could be a trap. God knows he had enemies. The pharmaceutical industry wasn't for the faint-hearted. That's why he'd hired Sentinel Security in the first place, to protect Ethan during their Vermont vacation after the threats began. But what if it was true? What if his son really was at that corner store with a 7-year-old girl? "Sir," his head of security said from the passenger seat, "this could be the break we've been waiting for, but we should approach with caution. Let me go in first." James shook his head. "If my son is in there, I want to be the first person he sees." As they pulled up to Wilson's store, James noticed how ordinary it looked, a far cry from the upscale neighborhoods he frequented. What was Ethan doing here? The store was empty save for an elderly man behind the counter, and at the back near a payphone, a small girl holding the hand of "Ethan!" James cried, his composure shattering at the sight of his son. Ethan looked up, his blue eyes widening with recognition. He broke free from the girl's grip and ran toward his father, arms outstretched. James swept him up, tears flowing freely now. "I thought I'd lost you," he whispered, knowing his son couldn't hear the words but would feel the emotion behind them. Ethan clung to him, small fingers gripping James's expensive suit jacket. He pulled back and began signing rapidly, his little face intense with urgency. James watched carefully, his own signing skills still developing since Ethan's diagnosis a year ago. What he understood made his blood run cold. "Bad men," Ethan signed. "Hurt Mommy." "What?" James signed back, certain he'd misunderstood. "Mommy is at home. Safe." Ethan shook his head vehemently. He made the sign for hurt again, then blood, then pointed at his head. James felt the world tilting. Sarah had stayed at the vacation house while he joined the search teams yesterday. He'd spoken to her last night by phone, hadn't he? Or had he spoken to her assistant, Veronica, who often answered Sarah's phone? "Sir," his security chief interrupted, "we should move this somewhere more private." James nodded, still processing Ethan's signs. He turned to the small girl who stood watching them, her worn clothes and solemn expression at odds with her young age. "You're Lily?" he asked gently. She nodded, eyes wide. "Is Ethan going to be okay now?" "Thanks to you, he will be," James said, setting Ethan down but keeping a firm hand on his shoulder. "Can you tell me exactly what happened?" Lily recounted finding Ethan at the playground, his fear of the men in suits, and their day in hiding. As she spoke, James's suspicions crystallized into a terrifying possibility. "These men," he interrupted, "can you describe them?" "Tall, black suits, sunglasses. They had little things in their ears and talked into their wrists. Exactly like his security team, like the men he'd hired to protect his family." "Lily," James said carefully, "you did a very brave thing. You may have saved my son's life." He reached for his wallet and extracted several $100 bills. "This is for you and your mother." Lily's eyes grew impossibly wider at the money. "I didn't help Ethan for money," she said, but accepted it nonetheless. "I know," James said, his respect for this child growing, "but kindness deserves reward. He needed to get home, now. If what Ethan was signing was true, if Sarah was hurt or worse, we need to go," he told his security chief, whose name, Davis, suddenly felt sinister rather than reassuring. "Of course, sir," Davis replied smoothly. "I've already called ahead. The team at the house is expecting us." James felt a chill. The team at the house. The same team that might have hurt Sarah, the same team Ethan feared. As they prepared to leave, Ethan suddenly broke free and ran back to Lily, hugging her fiercely. "He says, 'Thank you,'" James translated as Ethan signed. "And so do I, Lily Jackson. So do I." Lily couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Ethan's face, felt his small hand in hers, remembered the fear in his eyes when he spotted those men in suits. She'd helped him find his father. That was good, wasn't it? Mr. Miller had seemed nice, worried about his son. The reward money was hidden under Lily's mattress, waiting for her mother to come home. $500, more money than they'd ever had at once. But something still bothered her. Why had Ethan been so scared of the security men his own father had hired, and what was that about his mother being hurt? The next morning, Lily's mother finally returned, exhaustion etched into the lines of her face. "Sorry I'm late, Bean," Emma Jackson said, hanging up her coat. "Mrs. Henderson needed extra help with the weekend rush." She paused, noticing Lily's unusual quietness. "Everything okay?" Lily took a deep breath and told her everything, finding Ethan, hiding from the men in suits, the phone call, Mr. Miller's gratitude, and the reward money. Emma listened, her expression shifting from disbelief to concern to pride. When Lily showed her the money, she gasped. "Oh, Lily," she whispered, pulling her daughter into a tight hug. "You brave, foolish, wonderful child. You could have been hurt." "But Ethan needed help," Lily said simply. Emma stroked her daughter's hair. "Yes, he did. And you gave it. I'm proud of you." She hesitated, "But something doesn't feel right about all this." "I know," Lily agreed, relieved her mother felt it too. "Can we check if he's okay?" Emma bit her lip. "The Millers are way out of our league, Bean. Rich people like that. They live in a different world." "But Ethan is just a little boy," Lily insisted, and he was scared. Before Emma could respond, a breaking news alert flashed across their small TV screen. The headline made them both freeze. Pharmaceutical CEO's wife found dead. Kidnapping case takes deadly turn. The reporter's voice filled their tiny apartment. Sarah Miller, wife of Miller Pharmaceuticals CEO James Miller, was found dead last night at the family's vacation home in Burlington. Police are investigating her death as a homicide, possibly connected to the brief disappearance of the couple's 2-year-old son, Ethan, who was found yesterday after a tip from a local resident. "Oh my God," Emma whispered. The reporter continued. "Sources close to the investigation suggest Mrs. Miller may have been killed shortly before or after her son's disappearance. Police are searching for James Miller's head of security, Robert Davis, who has also disappeared." Lily felt sick. Ethan had been trying to tell them. The bad men had hurt his mommy. "We have to help them," Lily said, jumping up. "Ethan might still be in danger." Emma caught her daughter's arm. "This is for the police now, Lily. It's too dangerous." "But Ethan trusted me," Lily insisted, tears welling in her eyes. "I promised to keep him safe." Emma's expression softened. "I know, Bean, and you did. But now—" A sharp knock at their door made them both jump. Emma approached cautiously, peering through the peephole. Her body tensed. "Lily, hide!" she whispered urgently. But it was too late. The door burst open, revealing a tall man in a familiar black suit. Robert Davis, the man from the news, the man who had been with Mr. Miller when he picked up Ethan. "Hello, Lily," he said, his voice chillingly calm. "We need to talk about what Ethan might have told you." Behind him stood 2 more men in suits, their expressions blank. Lily backed away, bumping into her mother. "You have no right to be here," Emma said, her voice surprisingly steady, as she positioned herself in front of Lily. "I'm calling the police." Davis smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I'm afraid I can't let you do that. You see, Lily knows too much, and unfortunately, so do you now." "I don't know anything," Lily said quickly. "Ethan can't talk, he's deaf." "But he can sign," Davis replied, "and his father understands sign language. Which means whatever Ethan saw, James Miller now knows." He stepped forward. "Where is James Miller taking his son?" Emma's hand tightened on Lily's shoulder. "We don't know. Now get out of our home before I scream this building down." Davis sighed, reaching inside his jacket. "I was hoping to do this the easy way." Lily's world narrowed to the gleam of metal in the man's hand. A gun, like in the movies, but real and terrifying. "Last chance," Davis said. "Where is James Miller taking Ethan?" Time seemed to slow as Lily stared at the gun. Her mother's hand trembled on her shoulder, but Emma Jackson's voice remained steady. "We told you. We don't know anything. They left the store and that was it." Davis's cold eyes narrowed. "I don't believe you. The girls spent nearly 24 hours with Ethan Miller. He must have communicated something." Lily's thoughts raced. Ethan had tried to tell her things with his hands, but she hadn't understood his signs. All she knew was that he was afraid of these men, and now she understood why. "He's just a baby," Lily said, her voice small but defiant. "He can't even talk." Davis took another step forward, the gun unwavering. "You're lying, little girl, and I don't have time for games." The sound of sirens in the distance made everyone freeze. Davis glanced toward the window, momentarily distracted. In that split second, Emma acted. She grabbed the nearest object, a heavy ceramic lamp, and hurled it at Davis with surprising force. It struck his arm, sending the gun clattering to the floor. "Run, Lily!" Emma screamed, pushing her daughter toward the back door. Chaos erupted. The other men lunged forward. Emma fought like a cornered animal, clawing and kicking as she created space for Lily to escape. Lily hesitated, terrified to leave her mother. "Go!" Emma commanded, her eyes wild with desperation. Lily ran, out the back door, down the steps and into the alley behind their apartment. Tears blurred her vision as the sounds of struggle faded behind her. Where could she go? What could she do? She was just a little girl. The sirens grew louder, police cars. Help was coming, but would it be in time for her mother? She ducked behind a dumpster, heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst from her chest. Footsteps pounded down the alley, one of Davis's men in pursuit. A hand clamped over her mouth before she could scream. Lily thrashed wildly until a familiar voice whispered, "It's okay, Lily. I'm here to help." Mr. Wilson from the convenience store. The old man pulled her deeper into the shadows as heavy footsteps ran past their hiding place. "Your mother called me right after you left this morning," he whispered. "Said she had a bad feeling, asked me to keep an eye out." He gestured to a small door behind the dumpster. "This leads to my stockroom. Come on." Inside the dim stockroom, surrounded by boxes of candy and canned goods, Lily finally let her tears flow freely. "They have my mom," she sobbed. "They have a gun." Mr. Wilson's weathered face hardened. "The police are already there. Your mother managed to call 911 before those men broke in." He patted her shoulder awkwardly. "Emma Jackson is the toughest woman I know. She'll be all right." But Lily wasn't convinced. The image of Davis's cold eyes and gleaming gun haunted her. "They want to find Ethan and his dad," she said. "They killed Ethan's mom." Mr. Wilson nodded gravely. "It's all over the news. Corporate espionage gone wrong, they're saying. Miller Pharmaceuticals developed some breakthrough drug, and their competitors want the formula." He shook his head. "Greed makes monsters of men." Through a small window, Lily could see police cars racing toward her apartment building, lights flashing. Would they be in time? "We need to warn Mr. Miller," Lily said suddenly. "If they find out where he's gone." "And how do you propose we do that, child? We don't even know where he is." Lily thought hard. "When Ethan hugged me goodbye yesterday, he put something in my pocket. I didn't check what it was." She reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. On it was a hastily scribbled address. Lakeside Cabin, Route 7. Mr. Wilson's bushy eyebrows rose. "That smart little tyke. Must have taken it from his father's pocket." He studied the address. "That's about 30 miles north, near the Canadian border." "Can we call them?" Lily asked desperately. "Too risky. Phone lines can be traced." Mr. Wilson paced the small stockroom. "If Davis is working for a rival company willing to commit murder for this drug formula, he'll have resources, people listening in." "Then we have to go there," Lily said decisively. "We have to warn them in person." Mr. Wilson looked at her like she'd grown a second head. "You're 7 years old." "Almost 8, Lily corrected. "And Ethan trusted me. I can't let him down." Before Mr. Wilson could argue further, the stockroom door burst open. Lily screamed, expecting Davis or his men. Instead, a police officer stood there, looking relieved to find her. "Lily Jackson, your mother's asking for you. She's going to be okay." Emma Jackson's face was bruised, and her arm was in a sling, but she was alive. Lily clung to her in the hospital room, sobbing with relief. "I thought they were going to kill you," Lily whispered. Emma stroked her daughter's hair with her good hand. "It'll take more than some corporate thugs to separate me from my bean." She tried to smile, but it turned into a wince of pain. Detective Carlson, a stern-faced woman with kind eyes, sat in the visitor's chair. "Mrs. Jackson, Lily, I need to ask you both some more questions about Robert Davis and his men." "They got away, didn't they?" Emma asked, her voice hollow. The detective nodded grimly. "For now. But we have a statewide manhunt underway." She turned to Lily. "Can you think of anything else Ethan might have told you or shown you? Anything that might help us locate him and his father before Davis does?" Lily hesitated, thinking of the address in her pocket. If she told the police, they would find Ethan and Mr. Miller. But could she trust them? Davis had worn a security uniform. He had looked official. What if there were other bad people pretending to be good? "Lily, Detective Carlson prompted gently. "It's okay to tell us everything. We're here to help." Before Lily could decide, a nurse entered with a small TV on a rolling cart. "Thought you might want to see this," she said, turning up the volume on a breaking news report, confirming that the body of Robert Davis, head of security for Miller Pharmaceuticals, has been found in an apparent suicide off Route 7. Police are connecting Davis to the murder of Sarah Miller and the attempted abduction of Ethan Miller, the 2-year-old son of pharmaceutical giant James Miller. "Turn it up," Detective Carlson demanded, leaning forward. "Sources indicate that Davis may have been working for rival company Nexacorp, attempting to steal the formula for a revolutionary cancer treatment developed by Miller Pharmaceuticals." In a shocking twist, police have discovered documents in Davis's possession revealing that Nexacorp CEO Victor Reeves personally ordered the theft and was aware violence might be used. "Victor Reeves?" Emma interrupted, looking at Detective Carlson. "Isn't he that billionaire who's always on magazine covers?" The detective nodded, her expression grim and notoriously untouchable. "His lawyers are probably already spinning this, claiming Davis acted alone." The reporter continued, "James and Ethan Miller remain missing. Authorities urge anyone with information to come forward." Lily's mind raced. Davis was dead. Did that mean the danger was over? Or were there more people working for this Victor Reeves who might still be looking for Ethan and his father? "Detective," Emma said carefully, "if this Reeves person is as powerful as you say, how do we know he doesn't have people inside the police department?" Detective Carlson's eyes flashed. "I understand your concern, but I assure you—" "No offense," Emma interrupted, "but your assurances don't mean much right now. My daughter was nearly killed. I was attacked in my own home." She pulled Lily closer. "Until you can guarantee our safety, we're not saying another word without a lawyer." The detective's expression softened. "Mrs. Jackson, I respect your caution, but time is critical. If James and Ethan Miller are still in danger, they're at a cabin on Route 7, Lily blurted out. Both women turned to her in surprise. "Ethan slipped me the address when he hugged me goodbye. If Davis found it before he died." Detective Carlson was already on her feet, reaching for her radio. "I need units to Route 7, all lakeside cabins, possible location of James and Ethan Miller, and get me a protective detail for the Jacksons immediately." As the detective rushed from the room, Emma squeezed Lily's hand. "Are you sure that was the right thing to do, Bean?" Lily wasn't sure of anything anymore, but the image of little Ethan's frightened face haunted her. "I promised to keep him safe," she said simply. Emma's eyes filled with tears. "You have the biggest heart of anyone I've ever known, Lily Jackson." Outside the window, night was falling. Somewhere out there, Ethan and his father might still be in danger. Lily closed her eyes and whispered a silent prayer for the little boy who had trusted her with his life. "Please be okay, Blue. Please be okay." 3 days passed. Lily and Emma remained under police protection in a small motel outside Burlington. The news reported that the lakeside cabins had been searched, but James and Ethan Miller were nowhere to be found. Victor Reeves held a press conference denying any involvement in Sarah Miller's death, looking appropriately somber in an expensive suit as he offered a reward for information. "I don't trust him," Lily said, watching Reeves's perfectly practiced sad expression on the motel TV. "His eyes are like Davis's, cold." Emma, still moving gingerly with her injured arm, turned off the television. "You're too young to be this cynical, Bean." "It's not cynical if it's true," Lily replied, sounding older than her years. The events of the past week had changed her. The little girl, who had once just wanted to fit in at the playground, now understood that the world was more complicated and dangerous than she had ever imagined. A knock at the door made them both jump. Detective Carlson entered, looking exhausted. "We've got a new lead," she announced without preamble. James Miller's assistant received a package this morning containing vital research data and a flash drive with evidence against Reeves. It was mailed from Canada. They crossed the border, Emma said, relief evident in her voice. Seems that way, but here's the interesting part. Carlson knelt to Lily's eye level. The package included a note asking about the brave girl. That's you, Lily. Lily's heart skipped. Is Ethan okay? We believe so. Miller's assistant is arranging a secure video call. I came to ask if you'd like to be part of it. 20 minutes later, Lily sat in the local police station, staring at a computer screen. The image was slightly grainy, but she immediately recognized Mr. Miller's face, and there, sitting on his lap, was Ethan. When Ethan saw Lily, his entire face lit up. His small hands moved rapidly in excitement. "He's saying hello," James Miller translated, his own expression warm with gratitude, "and that he misses his friend." Tears pricked at Lily's eyes. "Hi, Blue," she said, waving at the screen. James looked bemused. "Blue. It's what I called him before I knew his name," Lily explained, "because of his eyes." James smiled, then grew serious. "Lily, I can never repay what you did for my son. You saved his life." "The police said you're in Canada now," Lily said. James nodded. "Ethan and I are safe. The evidence I sent back will put Victor Reeves away for a very long time." His eyes darkened with grief. "It won't bring Sarah back, but it's justice of a sort." Ethan tugged at his father's sleeve, signing something. "He wants to know if you're okay," James translated, "if the bad men hurt you." Lily thought of her mother's injuries, the terror of those moments in their apartment. But looking at Ethan's concerned little face, she forced a smile. "I'm fine. My mom got hurt, but she's getting better." James's expression grew pained. "I'm so sorry you were both dragged into this. The danger should be over now, but I've arranged for your family to receive ongoing security, just in case. And," he hesitated, "I've established a trust fund for you, Lily, for college or whatever you might need in the future." Lily didn't fully understand what a trust fund was, but her mother, standing just off camera, gasped softly. "Mr. Miller, that's not necessary," Emma began. "Please," James interrupted. "It's the least I can do." Lily showed more courage and compassion than most adults I know. He looked down at Ethan, who was watching Lily with undisguised adoration. "We both owe her everything." Ethan began signing again, more insistently this time. James's eyebrows rose in surprise. "Are you sure?" he asked his son, who nodded vigorously. "Well, it's a big request, but I think we can arrange it." "What did he say?" Lily asked. "He wants to know if you would visit us, once everything is safe, of course." James smiled. Ethan doesn't make friends easily, given his communication challenges, but he seems quite attached to you. Before Lily could respond, Detective Carlson stepped forward. "I'm afraid we need to keep this call brief for security reasons." James nodded in understanding. "Of course." He looked directly at Lily. "Thank you again, Lily Jackson. Ethan and I will never forget what you did." Ethan signed something, looking straight at Lily. This time she didn't need a translation. She recognized the simple gesture for thank you, one of the few signs she had learned in school. As the screen went dark, Lily felt a strange mix of emotions. Relief that Ethan was safe, pride that she had helped, sadness that he was so far away, and a lingering fear that somehow this wasn't truly over. "You did good, Bean," Emma said, hugging her gently. But as they left the police station, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story, and that her part in it wasn't finished yet. 2 months passed. Life slowly returned to normal, or at least a new version of normal. Emma's injuries healed, and she was able to return to work. The Jacksons moved to a nicer apartment, thanks to an anonymous donation that Emma reluctantly accepted after much persuasion from Detective Carlson. Victor Reeves was arrested and charged with multiple crimes, including conspiracy to commit murder. His smug face dominated news cycles as his empire crumbled. Lily avoided the coverage as much as possible. She had nightmares enough without seeing his cold eyes staring from the television screen. School started again. Lily, now officially 8 years old, after a quiet birthday celebration, found herself something of a minor celebrity. The other children, who had once ignored or mocked her, now wanted to hear about her adventures with the millionaire's son. The sudden attention made her uncomfortable. "You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to," her teacher, Mrs. Gonzalez, told her after finding Lily hiding in the library during recess. "I don't like being different," Lily admitted. "I just want things to go back to how they were." Mrs. Gonzalez smiled gently. "Before you were a hero." Lily shook her head. "I'm not a hero. I was just being a friend." "Sometimes that's the same thing," Mrs. Gonzalez said wisely. In quiet moments, Lily thought about Ethan. Was he happy in Canada? Did he miss her as much as she missed him? Had he forgotten about the scary days they spent hiding together? She had received one letter, forwarded through Detective Carlson. It contained a child's drawing, stick figures holding hands, one tall with yellow hair, one tiny with a big smile. Ethan couldn't write, but the message was clear. He remembered. He cared. On a crisp October morning, Lily was helping Emma fold laundry when a knock came at their door. Emma tensed, a reflex developed since the attack, but relaxed when she looked through the peephole. "It's Detective Carlson," she said, opening the door. The detective looked different, her usual severe suit replaced by casual clothes, her hair loose instead of tightly pulled back. "Good morning, Jacksons," she said with an uncharacteristic smile. "I have some news you might be interested in." She handed Emma an envelope. Inside was a letter on expensive stationery and 2 plane tickets. "James Miller is testifying at Reeves's trial next week," Carlson explained. "He asked if Lily might be available to see Ethan while he's in town. All expenses paid, of course." Lily's heart leaped. "Really? We can see them?" "If your mother agrees," Carlson said, glancing at Emma, who was examining the tickets with a mixture of surprise and suspicion. "Boston?" Emma asked. "Not Burlington?" "Security precautions," Carlson explained. "They're staying at a private residence under protection. The trial is being held in federal court there." Emma bit her lip, looking at Lily's hopeful face. "I don't know. It would mean missing school." "Please, Mom," Lily begged. "I just want to see if Ethan's okay." Something in Lily's voice must have convinced Emma. She sighed, then nodded. "I suppose a few days won't hurt, and I do have some vacation time saved up." 3 days later, Lily found herself on her first ever airplane, watching Burlington disappear beneath the clouds. Emma held her hand during takeoff, both of them equally nervous about flying. "What if Ethan doesn't remember me?" Lily whispered as the plane leveled off. Emma squeezed her hand. "Bean, you saved his life." Some things you don't forget, no matter how young you are. A sleek black car met them at Boston Logan Airport, the driver holding a sign that simply read, "Jackson." As they drove through the city, Lily pressed her nose against the window, taking in the towering buildings and busy streets. The car finally turned into a gated driveway, leading to a mansion overlooking the harbor. Security guards checked their identification before allowing them through. "Looks like Fort Knox," Emma muttered. "After what happened, can you blame them?" the driver said, speaking for the first time. "Mr. Miller takes no chances with his son's safety now." The massive front door opened as they approached. James Miller stood there, looking both more relaxed and more tired than when Lily had last seen him. Behind him, partially hidden by his father's legs, but peering out curiously, was Ethan. For a moment no one moved. Then Ethan's face broke into a huge smile of recognition. He darted forward, hands already moving in excited signs. "James laughed. He says he knew you would come." He looked at Lily with genuine warmth. "Welcome, Lily Jackson." Ethan has been counting the days. The reunion was everything Lily had hoped for and more. Ethan, though still unable to speak, communicated his joy through enthusiastic hugs and non-stop signing. James translated when necessary, but often the two children didn't need words. They had formed a bond that transcended language. "He's been taking me to sign language classes," James told Emma, as they watched the children play in the mansion's expansive garden. "Says he wants to be ready for when Lily visits." "Visits?" Emma raised an eyebrow. "As in, more than this one?" James looked sheepish. "I may have promised Ethan that you both could visit us in Toronto once we're permanently settled there. I hope that wasn't presumptuous." Emma watched her daughter laugh as she and Ethan chased butterflies. "It's complicated," she said finally. "Our lives are very different from yours, Mr. Miller. James, please." He sighed, running a hand through his greying hair. "I know, and I've already imposed enough dangers and difficulties on you both. But Ethan has so few friends who see beyond his disability. Lily is special to him." Emma nodded. She understood. Lily had few friends herself. "We'll see," she said, neither promising nor refusing. Later that evening, after a dinner that made their usual meals seem pitiful by comparison, James invited them to the mansion's library. The walls were lined with books, and comfortable leather chairs surrounded a coffee table laden with desserts. "I wanted to talk to you both about something important," James began once they were settled. "The trial starts tomorrow, and my testimony is critical to Reeves's conviction." "Is it dangerous for you?" Lily asked, thinking of Davis and his gun. James smiled reassuringly. "I'm well protected, but there's something else you should know." He took a deep breath. "I'm selling Miller Pharmaceuticals." Emma looked surprised. "After fighting so hard for it. Sarah and I built that company to help people. The cancer treatment we developed, it was her life's work. But after what happened..." He glanced at Ethan, who was contentedly eating ice cream, oblivious to the adult conversation. "Some things are more important than business. I want to give Ethan a normal childhood, away from corporate rivalries and security details." "What will you do instead?" Emma asked. "We're establishing a foundation in Sarah's name," James explained, "to help fund research and provide treatments to those who can't afford them." He hesitated. "And I was hoping you might consider a position with the foundation, Ms. Jackson." Emma nearly choked on her coffee. "Me? I'm a cleaning lady and cashier. I don't have any qualifications for charity work." "You have exactly the qualifications I'm looking for," James countered. "Integrity, compassion, understanding what it means to struggle." He leaned forward. "The position would be based in Toronto, with housing provided and Lily's education covered at a school that specializes in children with diverse needs, including deaf students, where she and Ethan could attend together." The room fell silent. Lily looked at her mother with wide eyes, hardly daring to hope. Moving to another country, living near Ethan, going to a special school. It seemed like a dream. "This is overwhelming," Emma said finally. "We can't just uproot our entire lives because a rich man offers you a job," James finished. "I understand your hesitation. It sounds like charity and you're proud, but it's not charity, Ms. Jackson. It's an opportunity that benefits us all." He looked at Ethan and Lily, now playing a silent game of their own invention. "Our children need each other, and I need someone I can trust." Before Emma could respond, a tall, serious man entered the library and whispered something to James. His expression immediately darkened. "What is it?" Lily asked, sensing the sudden tension. James hesitated, then sighed. "Reeves made bail this afternoon. His lawyers found a technicality." Emma instinctively moved closer to Lily. "Is he dangerous? Should we be worried?" "Security has been doubled," James assured her. "We're perfectly safe here." and his bail conditions forbid him from leaving the state or contacting anyone involved in the case. But Lily remembered Victor Reeves's cold eyes on the television. Men like him didn't play by the rules. She glanced at Ethan, blissfully unaware of the new development, and felt a familiar protective surge. She had kept him safe once. If necessary, she would do it again. That night, as Lily tried to sleep in a guest bedroom bigger than their entire apartment in Burlington, she heard soft footsteps in the hallway. Curious, she crept to the door and peeked out. Ethan stood there in dinosaur pajamas, his blue eyes wide in the dim light. When he saw her, he smiled and signed something she couldn't understand. "I don't know what you're saying," Lily whispered. Ethan pointed down the hall, then made a gesture like opening a book. "You want to show me something?" He nodded eagerly, taking her hand. Lily hesitated, then followed. Whatever Ethan wanted to share, it seemed important to him. She had no idea that their midnight adventure would lead to a discovery that would change everything. Again. Ethan led Lily to a small study off the main library. Unlike the rest of the mansion, this room felt personal and lived in. Photos covered the walls. Ethan as a baby, James looking younger and happier, and a beautiful woman with Ethan's striking blue eyes, who could only be Sarah Miller. But Ethan wasn't interested in the photos. He pulled Lily toward a desk where a laptop sat open. The screen showed a paused video. Ethan climbed onto the chair and pressed play. Sarah Miller's face filled the screen. She was speaking directly to the camera, her expression serious but calm. "James, if you're watching this, then my precautions were justified." Her voice was soft but determined. "I've hidden copies of this video in all our properties. I pray Ethan finds one and somehow gets it to you." Lily glanced at Ethan, who was watching the screen intently. How many times had he seen this video of his mother? "Victor isn't just after the formula," Sarah continued. "He's afraid of what else I discovered." She leaned closer to the camera. "The side effects, James. Reeves's version of our treatment. It's dangerous. I found the suppressed trial data. It caused severe damage in nearly 30% of patients. Deaths, James. Children's deaths that he covered up." Lily felt a chill. This was why Sarah Miller had been killed. "I've encrypted all the evidence. The password is the name we chose for our second child, the one we lost." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry, James. I should have told you sooner what I suspected. Now I'm afraid it might be too late." She looked over her shoulder as if hearing something. "I have to go. Remember, no matter what happens, protect Ethan. He's all that matters." The video ended. Lily sat frozen, trying to process what she'd seen. "Ethan," she whispered, "does your dad know about this?" Ethan shook his head, his expression solemn beyond his years. He made a motion like hiding, then pointed to himself. "You've been hiding it. But why? Your dad needs to see this." Ethan shook his head more vigorously, signing rapidly. Frustration filled his face when Lily couldn't understand. "I'm sorry," Lily said. "I don't know what you're trying to tell me." A noise in the hallway made them both jump. Footsteps approached, then passed by. When they were gone, Lily took Ethan's hand. "We need to tell your dad," she insisted. "This is important." Ethan stared at her for a long moment, then slowly nodded. He reached for the laptop, but before he could close it, a new message popped onto the screen, an incoming video call. Without thinking, Lily clicked to accept it. The face that appeared made her blood run cold. Victor Reeves. His reptilian smile widened when he saw them. "Well, well." The deaf boy and his little bodyguard. His voice was smooth as oil. "How convenient." Lily slammed the laptop shut, heart pounding. "We need to go now," she told Ethan, pulling him toward the door. They were halfway down the hall when James emerged from his bedroom, tying a robe around himself. "Lily, Ethan, what are you two doing up at this hour?" "Mr. Miller, Ethan found a video from his mom, and then Victor Reeves called on the computer, and he saw us, and the mansion's security alarm blared, cutting off Lily's frantic explanation. Red lights flashed along the hallways. James grabbed both children, his face pale with fear. "We need to get to the safe room, now." As they hurried down the corridor, James's security chief met them, weapon drawn. "Perimeter breach on the east side, sir. Multiple intruders." "Reeves?" James asked grimly. "Most likely. Police have been notified, but we need to move you to secure location immediately." They rushed downstairs and through hallways, the alarm continuing its deafening wail. Emma joined them, pulling Lily close. "What's happening?" "Reeves must have been monitoring the laptop," James explained tersely. "Sarah set up those accounts before she died. I should have thought to check them all." They reached a heavy door that opened to reveal a reinforced room with surveillance monitors showing the mansion's exterior. Multiple figures in dark clothing were advancing across the grounds. "Like Burlington all over again," Lily whispered, clutching Ethan's hand. The little boy's face was pale but determined. "Not this time," James said firmly. "This time we're prepared." On the monitors, they watched as police cars arrived, their lights flashing. Officers poured onto the grounds, surrounding the intruders. Shots were fired, not at the house, but at the police. One by one, Reeves's men were taken down. "They've got him," the security chief reported, listening to radio chatter. "Reeves himself was leading the assault. He's in custody." A collective sigh of relief filled the room. It was over, truly over this time. Hours later, as dawn broke over Boston Harbor, Lily and Ethan sat together in the mansion's kitchen, sharing hot chocolate. The adults were still dealing with police statements and reporters, but the children had been deemed too exhausted for questioning until morning. "You found that video on purpose, didn't you?" Lily asked. When Ethan nodded, she smiled. "You're pretty smart for a little kid." Ethan signed something, then, seeing her confusion, reached for a napkin and a crayon left on the table. He drew two stick figures holding hands, one tall, one short, just like the picture he had sent her weeks ago. Lily understood. "Friends," she said softly. Ethan nodded, his blue eyes serious. Then he drew a house and an arrow pointing to Canada, and added two more stick figures inside the house. "You still want us to come live near you?" Lily asked. Ethan nodded vigorously, then drew a fifth figure, tall with angry eyebrows, and put a big X through it. "Reeves is going to jail for a long time," Lily assured him. "He can't hurt you anymore." Ethan shook his head and pointed at the drawing again, then at himself and Lily, then made a protective gesture. Lily finally understood. "You want us to come with you? To protect each other? Like we did before?" Ethan's smile was answer enough. From the doorway, James and Emma watched their children with identical expressions of wonder and pride. "They saved each other, didn't they?" Emma said quietly. James nodded. "And us too, I think." He turned to her. "Does this change your mind about Toronto?" Emma watched her daughter laughing with Ethan, teaching him to blow bubbles in his hot chocolate, their earlier terror forgotten in the resilience of childhood. "You know," she said slowly, "I've always wanted to see Canada." Across the table, Lily looked up and caught her mother's eye. The smile they shared held all the promise of new beginnings, of friendships that defied circumstance, of a future where a poor girl and a deaf boy from different worlds could be exactly what each other needed, a true friend. And for the first time since finding a crying toddler on a playground in Burlington, Lily felt completely at peace.